When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just
got it.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? John.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
Letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
Good morning. First name's Doni, last name's Glover. Entered to win it for the long haul. Baby. All right. So it's truly a pleasure. Thank the Lord for safe traveling mercies down to Atlanta and back. We had a wonderful time. Hope you heard the show last night on WEAA with Mike Nice, Hip Hop Chronicles. We will be doing more on the Black Wall Street, Atlanta, and some of the honorees. Special thank you to Rondi Griffin and countless other people who helped make this event happen last night. Of course, I have two books out, Unapologetically Black and I Am Black Wall Street. And in I Am Black Wall Street, I share a little of the history of Black people. I just want to reiterate that Black history did not start nor end with slavery. Repeat after me. Black history did not start nor end with slavery. If anything, slavery interrupted African history. And here to talk a little more about that with us is Brother Melvin Velines. Now, let me also share that when you think of, we're going to talk about the Moors today. I just want to share this tidbit before we bring up our guests, that the Moors dominated the Iberian Peninsula for 800 years, just prior to the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. I just want to give you that backdrop that the Moors, the Black Moors, were in the Iberian Peninsula for 800 years, just up until the point that Ferdinand and Isabella moved into the Alhambra, and they financed, along with the Spanish, the travels, the mercenary, the all of that with Christopher Columbus in 1492. So without further ado, we're gonna bring up Brother Melvin. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Brother Doni. How you doing?
Good. Did I get that part right?
Yeah. And it is beautiful because right now, if you will, in the conscious community or the collective, people have a misunderstanding of what Moors are about. And it's just so much that's going on. And it's a misunderstanding about, us as a people and the organizations that are precursor to you and I that existed in the 20s that was responsible for the Harlem Renaissance and so many other beautiful things that came about. And it's a lot of and I'm glad first and foremost to be here on your show because we do have a history. We're working in the Sandtown, Winchester community from which I hail from, and at a very young age, I sort of worked at which inspired me to become a more positive person, and find myself. And I don't know if you remember, but it's a picture that you took of me around by I think it's the Wall of Unity on Cumberland and I think it's Carey Street, and I was sitting on the ground reading a book, and it's like full circle to me because that was my start of really truly finding myself. So I'm glad to be here, and yes, everything that you said is right on point. Yeah.
Let me just add in one more thing that when I first learned about the Moorish community, I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
It was from a cat who was locked up.
Okay.
And he didn't say the Moors. He didn't say the Moorish. He said the Moes.
The Moes. Yeah, we affectionately call each other Moes. That's right.
And but that was the most. That was all. Yeah, they the Moes, and that was it. And it took me. I might have been 15 when I first started hearing the term the Moes. The Moes.
Okay.
35 years.
Wow.
30 years before, and so let me just add in this other one. I saw a Moorish brother in front of a judge. I have never seen someone destroy a representative of the American legal system like this Moorish brother did. I don't even know what happened. A lot of times when we go to court, you better take a lawyer. Black people take a lawyer. Black people take a lawyer. Do not go to court without a lawyer. But this cat was his own lawyer, and everything that the court said to him, he was able to give a rebuttal and ended up walking on out the court. That's all I know. It was like, what just happened here? He dismissed him. He essentially told him, you don't have the right to bring anything to me. And I know that's a poor translation. I know he walked out that courtroom. That's what I do know. Okay,
well,
so help me out.
Transparency. And so basically, the Moorish Science Temple of America is an organization. It was founded and technically in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey. And the founder of it, which you see a picture of our divine constitution and also a poster that we call a cornerstone. And you might also see another little black and white building on my side. And it started in Newark, New Jersey. And it started with the express purpose of teaching our people who they are, right? And the organization was established. And once it was established, over 10,000 people answered the call. Now, the precursor to the Moorish Science Temple of America, who we refer to as being our forerunner, was the UNIA, which is the Universal Negro Improvement Association.
Marcus Garvey.
Which was founded by Marcus Garvey. And, there were a number of things that were going on in the 1920s, as we mentioned, the Harlem Renaissance. And this is where Noble Drew Ali, who we refer to as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, received inspiration to teach our people that we are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, Coon, Shan, Jigaboos. And now in Baltimore, our people are calling themselves dummies. So when we see that, basically there are a set of laws that are on the books that people don't even know, and they misunderstand when we say that we're not black. Because let the truth be told, there were 35 Moors and 20 Anglo-Saxons who created what is called now that we call the United States government. This information is kind of somewhat hidden. Historians don't give it the just due. We could talk about Peter Salem. We talk about Crispus Attucks. we could talk about a number of different people. And when you go in history, you see the word Indian, which is a misnomer because they should be called Aboriginals, because those particular people, Brother Donnie, look just like you and I. And actually, they were a result of being not only exiled from the Iberian Peninsula, but they had been traveling here to the Americas 10,000 years before Columbus. And we had an empire that stretched all the way up to Alaska, all the way down to Peru. And this is the misunderstanding that people have. And this gentleman that you saw, he probably was very astute and spent over 10,000 hours with studying the rules of civil procedure and things of this nature, where he was able to go into court to articulate and to be able to explain to a judge whatever his plight was. But a lot of people in this era time, we see in the last 15 or so years that they have allowed this stuff called sovereignty to creep into the Moorish Science Temple. And sovereignty came from the Confederate United States. You're looking at Jefferson Davis and a couple of other states that succeeded from the Union that was created by our ancestors, which were the 35 Moors and the 20 Anglo-Saxons. So when people see or hear about Moors, they misunderstand. They think we're a part of the Masonic Lodge. They think that we can go into court or commit crimes and go into court and tell a judge they don't have any jurisdiction. And unfortunately, that's not what the Moorish Science Temple of America is really all about. It's actually, I always tell people that in order to know truly what the organization is all about, you have to read the literature of the organization. And we have a Quran, we have a Moorish literature. At one time, we had a newspaper called the Moorish Guide. And all of this, Brother Donnie, was in the early I would say from 1925 all the way up until the late 30s and somewhat in the 40s. Because, of course, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali transitioned, there was a lot of turmoil inside of the movement. And a lot of people broke off and went and started their own organization, which has our community discombobulated till this particular day. And now you have those who are getting bits and pieces of what they would call Moorish science and adding things into it, and which are not supposed to be added. So in the Moorish Guide, if we look, we'll find out that Noble Drew Ali articulated what our organizational goals were, and also he articulated what the object of the organization is in the what we would call the Moorish literature. And he stated that the object of the organization is to help in a great program of uplifting fallen humanity, to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. And this all came about because of a speech, well, many speeches that Marcus Garvey performed, but there was a speech in Nova Scotia, Sydney, Nova Scotia in 1937, where Marcus Garvey was coined the term mental slavery. And he said, we are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because while as others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is your only ruler, sovereign. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of the other man who uses his mind. And that's what we see in our communities today. And this is why you have so much misunderstanding in these other YouTube influencers, just misutilizing not only the Moorish Science Temple, but many different organizations, and saying that they or have the true teachings, and really they're not following any of the formats of the organizations that were found, if you will. So it would be good. we are friends and servants to humanity. We're not against humanity, and specifically we're not against our own brothers and sisters just because we don't refer to ourselves as being black, but there's a reason, especially, and we could talk weeks, days, and months and years. That's a whole nother subject that we can hopefully maybe one day unpack, because there are many Supreme Court cases that are still on the books and no other adjudications or cases or legislation has been made to refute these particular things that came about during the time after slavery and Reconstruction that were put on the books. And this is why you see our brothers being incarcerated in the numbers that they are. And I mean, it's just it's amazing. But people have to first change their mindset and be willing and patient to sit down and listen to one another, you know. And that'll be half of the battle. Yeah, that'll be half of the battle.
Should we acknowledge Noble Drew Ali on Cary Street?
Well, that brother, his name, he changed his name. His name is well, I know him as Brother Hayes Sample Bay. He actually was in the movement before myself, and from what I understand, he did some work. I can't say if it was great or not great in the Sandtown community, but you know, I don't like to disrespect people. So he says that he's Noble Drew Ali, but I recognize Noble Drew Ali as being the man who was born in the state of North Carolina, 1886, who came and founded the organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And there have been many others who have said that they were reincarnations of Noble Drew Ali and things of this nature. But I like to stick to the founder's works of what he did. And if that person or whoever is in line with his works, then I can work with them, whatever they call themselves, you know.
Take me back to Noble Drew Ali in 1886. Where did he learn from?
Man, well, he traveled. He was born on a reservation. So from what we have, a lot of his life is mysterious. I've been a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America for about 25 years. And a lot of things are obscure about his life. But what interested me is when I first started studying it, I wasn't a believer, Brother Doni, for real at first. But the more I studied it and the more I started to come and I started to apply those principles to my life, I started to see an unfoldment in my life. And we have a chapter in Quran. It's called it's chapter 23, and it talks about I think it's the chapter of religion, I believe it is. Don't quote me, I'll make sure I get that. But it has 12 things that we should principles. Well, first we have 5 principles that the organization was founded on, which are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I come to find out that principles are habits. They should be internalized. And once you internalize those particular principles, now what they do is they become habits and you begin to practice them. So
let me get them again. Love,
truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And these are the principles. And we have a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And that 5-pointed green star represents the points of that star represents those particular principles. And we should practice those things. And of course, with practice over time, you're going to find out that you will manifest those particular things. So in practicing that, I started to see my life change. And then I found out about another set of principles, right? Which are obedience, modesty, gratitude, charity, temperance, prudence, justice, sincerity, diligence, benevolence, science, and religion. And not religion in the sense of an organized sense, but religion as far as spirituality, creating a relationship with your creator. Because once we do that, now we're able to see a universal theme through all religions, because we honor all true and divine prophets: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and Jonah. And and many other prophets that probably are named, and some that are probably unnamed. So there's a lot of misunderstanding and half-cocked people out there. They get the lessons, but they don't really internalize the principles, because they like to wear the fez, or they like to be different. And they go out there and they start spewing, if you will, half truths and misunderstandings about what Noble Drew Ali wanted and articulated for our people to move forward. And once again, there's a saying that we have, the moles, right? It said there's no greater than the two, Marcus Garvey and the Drew, right? And when you look at Marcus Garvey, he was an economical giant. He started the Black Star Liner, and when he was talking about going back to Africa, he was talking about going back to the principles of the mind that our ancestors had, and in some instances, actually physically going back there. But it wasn't just going back to Africa physically, but to the state of mind of how our ancient ancestors, when we ruled the world 3 times over again.
I read something once that said, it might have been Marcus Garvey, that some people going back to Africa, they said they were no good in Africa. They were no good in Africa, so they can be no good here either. So whether you take them back to Africa or not, some people just no good.
Yeah, and that's essentially in all things, Brother Donnie. And this is the internal work that our people have to do, especially with the advent of slavery, because slavery taught us how to be unruly, taught us how to be niggardly, and this is what we are seeing the residual effects of right now. And as I said, what we have now is mental slavery. No matter what you teach a person, Christianity, Buddhism, if they don't change their mindset, all they're doing, or not applying the principles of those particular religious organizations or principles to their lives, then basically all you are doing is you have a messed up person mentally that's dressing up and saying that they believe or practice certain things, but in all actuality, they're not living up to, or a living demonstration. It's just like a person. I would never call a plumber to my home to do electrical work unless they were certified or studied in that particular area. So this is what we're saying out here in society. And this is why I found it so important to, come on Black News and, reach out to you, because, that, like I said, there are a bunch of YouTube influencers that are having like soap opera type shows where they cause a lot of drama with our other brothers and sisters, the people who are calling themselves foundational Black Americans. And, they're causing drama between and having perpetuating a misunderstanding, when in fact, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, the Nation of Islam, all of these organizations work together at one point in time. The Hebrew Israelites, and you'd be surprised once you study the history. And I've taken some due diligence to actually study the history and try to make sense out of it, not for other people, but for myself. Because if I don't understand, how can I get other people who've never read the literature to understand, if that makes sense? Yeah. And so also, Brother Donnie, in the newspaper that we had called the Moorish Guide, there was an article, I think it was September the 14th, 1928. Noble Drew Ali also articulated in an article basically that the Moorish Science Temple of America is building on human needs. And he outlined 4 organizational goals under when he said we build on human needs. And one is to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of not only our members, but other people in times of distress, no matter what they look like or whatever the case may be. 2, we are supposed to aid in the improvement of health and encourage the ownership of better homes. That's one of our organizational goals. We are to find employment for our members and other people and encourage the ownership of business, right? This is what we are supposed to do because that's a part of uplifting fallen humanity. 4, we are to teach the fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. And some people will say, well, why do you want to be loyal to government? Well, people have to go back to the origin of government. And the word government comes from a word govern, right? And which means to self-rule. If I don't have control over myself, then 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be able to be a good custodian of my community and things of this nature, right? And we see this when we look at the disease model of addiction and the medical model of addiction, and we find out that, some of the things that our behavior start with that leads us to addiction starts way before we become addicted to things. So what we are seeing in our communities is a direct result of slavery. And I know people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it, but slavery worked a number on our people. And we are doing our best.
It still does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is what the Moore Science Temple of America talks about in our meetings, which our Friday is our holy day, which in other communities that speak the Arabic language, they say Juma. And then we have a Sunday school, and all are more than welcome to participate because, Brother Donnie, I don't know it all. I know 1 or 2 things and I can help. I have a ton of experience in doing other things, but I don't know it all. And it's not just going to take me to help uplift the community. It's going to take brothers such as yourself. Like I said, you inspire me to do, to become a more positive person. Seeing you work the newspaper when you were dealing with the newspaper for community building and partnership. And, that I said, wow, I can be different than standing on a corner selling drugs or, robbing and stealing and things of this nature. You were an example for me to be able to be a catalyst to, look at other things and to, continue to strive for positivity in my life. And here it is. I wound up in the Moore Science Temple of America and, so many other things that I'm a part of. But these are the things that people don't talk about. Crispus Attucks, he sparked the Revolutionary War, right?
Up in Boston.
Right. And people hear about that, right? But they never go and try to do any further investigation of why did Crispus Attucks feel so compelled to help this particular government? Why did he feel so compelled? What principles, what literature was he reading? And they kind of hide some of that. And they don't talk about Peter Salem. They don't talk about you will hear about Tecumseh, right? But they don't tell you that Tecumseh's shade of skin was just like yours or mine. And they don't tell you that he helped in the War of 1812. And it's so many other things.
What one historian shared with me, you mentioned Crispus Attucks, Peter Salem. He mentioned to me the 1st Rhode Island Regiment.
Oh, okay.
The 1st Rhode Island Regiment, according to one historian that I've spoken with, flipped the Revolutionary War. And if anything, it speaks to a point of history that many of us don't know, that those of us of the darker hue fought in every war this country has ever had. Absolutely. And I think what I hear you saying is that you want us to know is that, as I started to show off with, our history did not start with slavery. Or let's put it differently. The European was not the first one to give us a ride to these Americas. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
already here.
Yeah, that's right. 10,000 years before
And
Columbus.
so rather than, and one other thing, rather than thinking that we are all descendants of the transatlantic slave trade,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we would be better viewed as prisoners of war.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I would agree wholeheartedly. And it's just so much history, and I'm just beseeching the people to, be patient with one another despite of whatever organization you belong to. And you'll see those people that are out there, like I said, those YouTube influencers, they're doing that because unfortunately people are attracted to negativity for whatever reason. I still haven't figured that out as of yet. And drama. So, they go on YouTube and they cook up research and things of this nature, and they cause confusion between our people. And behind that, what's happening is they're going to they're earning checks and paying their bills off of creating that type of confusion, when we need to be focusing our energies more on things like you're doing with building the Black Wall Street, promoting Black news and telling true stories, and not just, about our people, but about all people. Because let the truth be told, everybody that doesn't look like that us are not bad. We're
John
just
Brown, I wrote about John Brown.
okay. Mm-hmm.
John Brown got killed fighting against slavery, a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
John Brown opened up Kansas for Black people. Every time a state joined the Union, the state had to decide whether it was going to be a free state or a slave state.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those who like basketball and know about the Kansas Jayhawkers, the Jayhawkers were against slavery. As Kansas was joining the Union,
Okay.
the whites were fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Those who were for slavery and those who were not for slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they were against slavery, but it was like you either for it or against it. And it wasn't no in between. So if you are not promoting it, then you're our enemy. And that's how it went down. John Brown found himself in Kansas fighting against those who wanted to make Kansas a slave state. And of course, he died in Harpers Ferry, Virginia, when he bit off a little more than he could handle. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, he was friends with Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass. And let's just say this state that we are from, despite mass incarceration, despite being the home of segregation, despite the housing laws that separated and wouldn't allow Blacks to move in the white neighborhoods and whites not able to move in the Black neighborhoods, despite all of that, still here in the state of Maryland, we have two of the greatest heroes of the darker hue that this world has ever seen, in the person of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. And let me just throw in there that also a man of the darker hue, Matthew Alexander Henson, comes from Calvert County, Maryland, and discovered the North Pole. So when people think of us, when we think of ourselves in such a limited, myopic way, man, yes, when I was in Atlanta, we had the Black Wall Street in Atlanta. I'm often blown away at what we don't know. They will tell it, I was sharing the history of our people in Florida. And how we fought alongside the quote unquote Indians who were lumped together in one tribe called the Seminoles. The Seminoles,
that's right.
Tribe.
That's right.
They fought 3 wars. It's called the Seminole Wars. And the second Seminole War, one of the leaders was a man of the darker hue named Chief John Horse.
John Horse. Yeah, that's right. That's right. John Horse. Yeah,
we but knew our history. You know?
Yeah. So they could not beat John Horse. So they tricked him. They told him we grant you safe passage. And when he started coming up from out of Florida, basically, that's when they ambushed them, because they otherwise they wouldn't have been able to beat them. And also that there's when you look at the French and Indian Wars, right? Really, that's the French and Moorish Wars, because we had a stronghold all up in Canada and New York, and things of that nature. And like you said, if we but knew our history, we wouldn't create so much separation amongst ourselves. So
because a lot of us don't know that we are the Indians.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what this word. So if you go and you study a lot of the names of the states, right? For example, Delaware really is that's a tribe, and it's really supposed to be enunciated Delaware. And then you have the Delaware Moors, right? And then you have the Connecticut. There's a group now, the Pequot, or I think if I'm enunciating, they are not trying to allow them tribal recognition. And one of the reason why is we can go back to a man by the name of Walter Plecker, who was the first head of vital statistics, and he was the one who created the one drop rule, and also he was the one who established that we could not classify ourselves as Indians, right? And that's an interesting study, and he graduated from the University of Maryland, and he was so shrewd that there was a woman of what we call European descent, but a so-called white woman. She told the midwife that her child was by a so-called black man who we call Asiatic, right? And she put that her child was white. Walter Plecker wrote her a letter and told her, ma'am, you told the midwife that your child's father was a so-called black man, so therefore your child is not white, he's a mulatto, right? And made her change the designation of the race on a birth certificate. So man, it's so much history out there. And as the Moorish Science Temple, this is what we try to help our people with understanding, and legally show them why on the books we shouldn't call ourselves names that delude to slavery, because when we do so, it puts us in a way that it puts us in a way where we only know not only our history, but it has a very negative spiritual connotation to it. So this is what we're about, Brother Donnie, and we just looking for opportunities to work with the community and to put the positive light on all of our people and all of the organizations that's uplifting fallen humanity, if you will. So yeah.
Tell me about the fez.
Oh, well, man, the fez is one of the most ancient headdresses. This headdress is the first headdress that what we call God Allah gave to man, and the turban, which I don't have an example of, but you'll see our sisters, they wrap their turbans. And this is the first headdress that the universal creator, whom we call Allah, gave to woman. It's our crown of glory. And when you see it when we graduate from colleges, when we graduate from schools, what they did was they flattened, they looked at the fez and they flattened it out in what is called as mortar, a mortar board. And it simply means when you see that, you'll see the tassel and you'll see it in a square. And that means that your mind is untempered and you have done some cultivation. Well, the fez is the same way. If you see it has a lower realm and it has an upper realm. And what it shows is my connection here on earth to the universal creator. And it shows that I'm connected and that my behavior should reflect my inspiration, my reverence for what created the universe and created other fellow human beings. And this is when you see this is a symbol of higher learning. So my behavior should not reflect disrespecting my brothers and sisters. It should
Selling
not.
dope in the community. You ain't selling dope.
Right. Absolutely. And
Selling
guess what?
poison to your people.
No, that's not happening. And if I do that, right? If I do that, best believe you'll never see me in this, and you won't see me carrying my appellation, which is Bey, which means Lord, right? I'm never going to disrespect that name, my ancestors, and most of all, I'm never going to disrespect the Creator within my ability. So, I'm here to say, when you see people doing that, we are not law violators. We do have driver's license. We do pay taxes. We don't have more than one wife. We don't like to cause confusion amongst our brothers and sisters. We respect the law, but when the law is out of order and it goes against the principles of our Creator, then that's a force that we have to be reckoned with. But we also do that. We do that in decency and order as well. So I'm just here to,
tell me about the word Muslim.
Muslim. Okay, so Muslim means one who submits his will to Allah. But you have a more ancient word, which Moorish Americans, we refer to ourselves as being Muslims. It's when you do a little further and deeper research, you'll find out that the word Muslim means the perfect ones of peace. So it's similar, but it's a little different. We strive to submit our will to the Creator, whom we call Allah, but we are more of a spiritual. We look towards our spiritual revival of how our ancient ancestors practice what is called what we refer to. Some people say Islam. We refer to it as being Islamism, and it's not the radical aspect that the media across the world would try to promote. It's the practice of the essence of the principles of Islam, and which means peace, right? Tolerance, unity, obedience, justice, science. And when we talk about science, you look at the words algebra, geography, all of these are Arabic words, and even the base 10 system, the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are Arabic numerals, and the Moors are responsible for transmuting that to the world. And as you can see, we still use some of those things right here in America. And this is what the ancients practiced, which was a part of the lesser mysteries of what you would call the mystery systems, which existed all over the world. When you walk into our temples, you'll see know thyself. And Greek, know thyself was Ganoth Satan. And in the Egyptian temples, it was over top of those doors, and people just don't know that we had a global connection. And the system is the system. You just got to be able to find a connection, and that's what we are as the Moorish Science Temple of America, is showing our people the connection of this ancient system that we had, and we want to revive it to be able for our people to be a great people. I mean, we're still a great people. However,
A lot of us don't know it.
yeah, a lot of us don't know it. And this is why our people behave the way that they do, because they believe that our history starts with being a slave or enslaved or prisoners of war.
There's a line, I want to say it right here today on your holy day. I hear my young rappers saying, I came from the bottom. No, you didn't.
That's right. That's right.
You did not come from the bottom. You come from greatness. Look up your family tree. You're bound to see greatness. You might be temporarily broke.
That's right.
Your daddy might have been broke. But if you go back far enough, you'll find greatness on your mama's side and your daddy's side. You're bound to find it. what's often in our face is the negative.
Absolutely. And that's a part of what helps us.
I don't know, some breaking news is going on. My phone is blowing up right now, but we're going to stay focused. I wanted to ask you about, is there any overlap between the Moors Science Temple and the Masons?
The Masonic Lodge, which you'll find out is that the history of the Masonic Lodge, you'll find out at one time, if you do a history of that, you'll find out that almost 90% of the United States population were a part of what we would call orders, right? Orders. So you have
just like the
Knights Templar,
the Templars.
Yeah, the Knights of Templar, the Knights of Alhambra, so many different orders. The Tall Cedars of Lebanon. You have, and they all come under what is called the guise of the Masonic Lodge, right? Based off of their principles and things of this nature. So a lot of people see this. Masons don't wear this. It's not until they get into an organization which is called the Shriner organization, and then what you'll see is they put jewels, disfigure this, and they tock their tassels down. And what the Shriners do is they take out our ancient history, and what they do is they are practicing our principles and not telling people that that's what they're practicing. And this is why they're able to do some of the things that they do, right? Because of the things that they practice. However, you don't see any jewels on my fez. You don't see my tassels.
I never thought of that.
Right.
Yes,
so
they got writing. They got writings on there.
And you'll never see them wear this in public, like Noble Drew Ali wore his in the broad daylight, right? And a lot of people confuse it because they think that the signs and symbols, which may be similar, but they're not the same, right? Their signs and symbols mean something totally different from what ours mean. However, they do have somewhat of an origin of the same place, because we are the founders of civilization, and we are the founders of the first religious creed. So you'll also see the Shriners, because you have to go through the Masonic Lodge in order to get to the Shriner organization. And once you get to that organization, you'll see some of our ancient names, such as you'll see Bey, you'll see Il, you'll see Mohammed on their fezzes. And this is the practicing of our ancient culture, right? And the difference between the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Masonic Lodge is that there's no membership fees, and the average person can come off the street and come into our organization and learn that you are not Negroes, color folks, black people, Ethiopians, coon, shine, jigaboos, African American, and now here in Baltimore, out the younger brothers are calling themselves dummies. So, a lot of people would like to say that, oh, Noble Drew Ali was Masonic. No, a lot of our people were in those particular organizations. And when Noble Drew Ali came and went to Woodrow Wilson and told him that he was going to teach our people what we needed to make us better, and that we would like to retrieve the proverbial cherry tree that was cut down by General George Washington, which is what we call the Moorish flag, but some people might try to call it the Moroccan flag. That George Washington, in this mythological story, that if you look it up, you'll find out that story is a myth. But what was the reason that the mainstream school system taught that to over 2 million people that look like us, and also their people? Well, that story is a Masonic story that tells the true history of our people being cut off in this part of the world, right? And our last stronghold was Battle Creek, Michigan, which is connected to the War of 1812. and a lot of this stuff is codified, right? So people will go and try to look in books and things of this nature. And you gotta dig a little bit, because it's not just going to be surface right there for you, you know.
Well, now you got me wanting to ask you about the man of the darker hue who discovered Chicago.
Oh yeah, Chief. So I forget his name, but
Jean du Sablé.
Right, and he was a Haitian. So this is the thing: people all around the world that have a hue are Moors. That a Moor simply means original person. But the thing is that you'll find out that the European has colonized many different places, and we here in America lost our nationality, and other places like Jamaica, you have the Maroons, right? Who are Moors, but they still have their nationality. They didn't lose it, and they gained some type of independence, just like Haiti. There's a book called the Black Jacobins, and what you'll find out is Toussaint Louverture, he sent this guy named Gerard to get weapons, and General Gerard took over. It was $1 million or so at this particular, what would be worth now, and as opposed to him going to get weapons for Toussaint Louverture, he wound up going to Philadelphia, starting Girard College, as opposed to going back to take the weapons to Toussaint Louverture. So, man, there's so much hidden history. But the founding of Chicago, that's why Noble Drew Ali left Newark, New Jersey, and went to Chicago, because the laws in Chicago suited what he was trying to do better. And then also you have a group of people called America's Worst Family. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
The Ben Ishmael tribe. And this is a connection to one of the connections to the Moorish Science Temple of America, where eugenics was started, right? And they try to say that it was a lot of people that didn't look like us and people that look like us that mixed together. But when you study the Ben Ishmael tribe, you'll see that they made a trek, and now, like in Indiana, you have I think it's something called Morocco, Indiana, and a number of other places in Chicago, and you'll find out it's a stone that was found called the Wabunisi stone. Have you heard of that before, Brother Donnie?
Not.
Okay, so the Wabunisi stone was found, and Chicago actually was, if you will, an Indian chief, and Illinois is the name of an Indian tribe. So we know that this is a Moorish tribe, and Chicago was a Moorish chief. Okay, and the Wabunisi stone, they were up in Chicago, and they were somewhere around where they built. It's like the harbor, and they found this Wabunisi stone, and they were trying to figure out how did this stone get here. And what they did was they took it and they shaved it down and turned it into a water fountain, and they put it in Chicago's museum. And when people started asking questions about it, they took it out and they hid it somewhere. And I think it was just recently found, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. But what you'll find out here in the Americas, Kentucky, Connecticut, Mississippi, Ohio, you'll find out that they were these things called mounds. And
the round pyramids.
That's right. And
450 of them across the United States that we know of.
Absolutely. And then when you go to Mexico, you'll find out that the pyramid in Mexico is actually bigger than the pyramid, than the Great Pyramid of Giza. If you were to do the schematics and you turned it upside downwards, you'll find out that more water would be able to fit. And this is a theory, a scientific theory. More water would be able to fit in the pyramid of Mexico as opposed to the Great Pyramid of Giza. But the Atlantic Ocean was not always an ocean. It was a river. We could canoe, we camelback, we rode horses across here. Matter of fact, the Army did a camel experiment in Arizona desert. Did you know about that?
I didn't. I know a little something about that. Come on.
And it was, they misenunciated this guy's name. He was a Syrian, and they called him Hajj Ali, but his name is really Hajj Ali, and they called him Hajj Ali, and this is why, you know, they couldn't enunciate our languages and things of this nature. So it takes a lot of diligent study. And
Here we thinking we can't pronounce their stuff, and in actuality, they couldn't pronounce.
No, they couldn't enunciate our stuff. Yeah.
So you threw in here the Arizona desert. What I have learned is that in the Grand Canyon,
okay,
there's Kincaid's Cave.
That's right. That come from the Arizona Gazette, 1909. You'll find out that there was a map, and that map, it was a hiker's map, and some people say Carhartt, you know, like the construction outfits that people wear. At one time in the 90s, it was real popular. Carhartt wound up selling the map to Mr. Kincaid, and Mr. Kincaid was riding down Trinity River, and he saw what would be a opening to one of the canyons, and he pulled his canoe and he went up the side of the canyon and wound up going inside of the opening, and found out that it was a citadel, and the citadel went into many different directions. And what he did was he called the Smithsonian Museum, and the Smithsonian came to the Arizona desert and started doing excavation, and they found out that there were artifacts from China, artifacts from Egypt, artifacts from India, and they were trying to figure out why some of the canyons were called Buddha Cloister, Isis Temple, Shiva Temple, and they couldn't figure it out. Well, in fact, the Americas is actually was the first Egypt or that we know of. And man, we could go many different places, but this is some of the information that we have here in the Moorish Science Temple, and this is some of the stuff that we would like to, you know, sit down and share with our people. And we don't want to be in an argument. This takes time, and we have to, you know, do our due diligence.
It takes time. The term cognitive dissonance comes to mind.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where
Absolutely.
You're telling me what I should know. And the cognitive dissonance is my mind saying, no, you telling me everything they ever told me was a lie? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Kincaid's Cave, they found Egyptian artifacts.
They found a lot of bones too, like giants, people, men and women that was over 7 feet tall. And they found this. I mean, this is Kentucky. We talking about Arizona. Mississippi.
Right here. You know, because American history is not that old.
Yeah, it's not
It's
at all.
the youngest history of any country, the America as we know it.
That's right.
But I came across some research about what was going on here in North America in the 1300s. Civilizations,
absolutely,
that are no more, and I guess artifacts are deep in the ground. But all we know is what somebody told us, and
right.
What I love about you, about the Moorish American side, you're going to research for yourself. I believe in doing the research for myself. I meet people all the time, and I put up a video once. It was called Black Indians, and you should have heard the comments. But the worst comments came from my own.
Yeah,
Why Donnie want to be anything but African? Hold up, homie. Hold up. Who says we're not? But like when the when the people of the dark who came out of Florida to go to Oklahoma, one lie is that those people were slaves. And you just said Chief John Horse was a soldier.
That's right.
He went to Oklahoma because they tricked him. However they want to tell the story, he put his guns down. Put your guns down. We're gonna let you go to Oklahoma and give you land. And they did. And he got out to Oklahoma and found that it was still a stick up. The whiter Indians, the ones from the Bering Strait.
Yeah, the $5 Indians. That's what
they trying
to
put them in chains. The whites, the Anglo-Saxons trying to put them in chains. Chief John Horse then led those 200 families through Texas, building black towns all along the way, led them to Mexico. So you telling me this man of the darker hue, who was a soldier, who fought his way, they fought their way alongside the Seminoles out of Florida. They fought their way. They were not slaves. So on that Trail of Tears, wasn't like black people carrying the Indian stuff. Hold up. First of all, we are the Indians. We are the indigenous people. We are the originals. And if we don't wrap our brain around that, then everything after that is like a lie built on top of a lie. So we are just really confused, but it's coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out.
It's coming out. It's the information is coming out. And that cognitive dissonance is us saying everything y'all told us was a lie. Yeah. How can they tell you your history when they don't know their own?
And it was a great cover up. Almost like they say Alexander the Great burnt the libraries of Egypt. I believe, and this is, my theory because I wasn't there, I believe that Alexander the Great made copies or he kept those books and act like he was burning. Yeah. And
we go to London, we go to England.
Oh yeah.
And we see the rubies and the diamonds and are wild. They stole your people's stuff.
Oh yeah.
Where you think it come from?
And let the truth be told, we were the first people that lived in Europe, the Etruscans and the Minoans. And when they talk about Zeus and the Greek gods and things of this nature, they talking about us. They talking about us.
Yes.
And what you'll also discover, right, is you'll find that it's just a lot of history that they've what they call whitewash. Because the fathers of African history, right, are two Jewish guys, and that's a lot to unpack. And we have these guys who taught us these particular theories, and now when we read Sheikh Anta Diop or something by Dr. Ben, and we read 5 or 6 books, unfortunately, now people think that they are masters of African history when no, it take a lot more than just that, So also the word America, it wasn't that was an actual tribe in many cities in South America, or what we know now as South America was named America way before Christopher Columbus or Amerigo Vespucci got here. And if you look at some of the bead work and you see in Mexico or some of the Latin countries, our cousins, you'll see the little balls and you see the dresses. That is very much a part of our culture as well, right? Because we ruled El Salvador, which used to now is called San Salvador. We had strongholds in Cuba and many different Venezuela. Man, many
we don't know our connection.
Puerto Rico, So, and you just have misinformed people, and of course, if you have misinformed people, now people are at odds because you don't believe what I believe, as opposed to saying, that's interesting. Let me go research that. And here in the Moore Science Temple, we are scientists. We don't want you to believe what we say. We want you to challenge us, but please do it under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, because we trying to get to the same place that you trying to get to. And we want to see our community thrive just like any other community. And that doesn't mean that all of us are going to be the same, look the same, or sound the same, but we can work together in a cohesive manner. And that's what we're about,
I got to share something with you.
Mm-hmm.
This is lighthearted, so don't put your guard up.
It's no problem.
Y'all don't celebrate Christmas.
No, not at all.
But I'm here to tell you that Santa Claus was a black man.
Okay.
If you look him up, the history of Santa Claus comes out of Turkey.
Okay.
He was a black man, a man of the darker hue with a beard.
Okay.
And he gave away things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the real story of Santa Claus comes out of black history, comes out of Moorish history, the people of the dark hue, comes out of our history, despite everything that everyone wants to twist. And I mean, I was just looking earlier today, there's a picture of some people trying to tell me, so in Egypt, the original people in Egypt, and it was down in the Sudan, deep in Africa, but they were of the darker hue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so interesting when you see people trying to tell the history of Egypt that is the fairer skinned people. It's like, come on, man, stop playing. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like your great grandchild trying to tell you your history.
Absolutely.
Go sit down.
And you'll find out that the word Egypt is a Greek word, and one of the ancient words for Egypt was Mizraim. And some people, they say Kemet, and either way,
Nubia,
we won't understand. Al-Kebulon, so when we look at those things, it's okay. We just gotta we have to share the information and see one another's perspective, and practice the principles that will help us, do like the Black Wall Street and, and create an economy for ourselves and things of this nature. Because if you see, if you look at what's going on now, we need what we would call the Nguzu Saba, which are the 7 principles. We need that amongst our people because, robots are taking over, if people are looking at, the things in the news,
AI, chat, GPT, all that.
So
we better have some values, some morals, because we're in a world now where the abnormal is normal and the normal is abnormal. I just want to go back to Kincaid's cave. The Smithsonian, they swoop in, snatch this stuff up, and stash it. So this is how I got hip to it. I'm in Vegas. I needed to stay at a hotel, and the Luxor caught my attention.
Okay.
It's shaped like a pyramid. And they share with you some information about, because I'm saying, who thought of an Egyptian theme in the middle of Las Vegas?
Because
we did.
And when you look at that, right, you'll find out that in Egypt, they were the pyramids of the sun, and the pyramids in Mexico are the pyramids of the moon. But a lot of people, they don't know that because it's hidden history. But when I say hidden history, like it's like a vibration, frequency, and energy. If you read, okay, I brought a Volkswagen one time, right? And before, Volkswagens never caught my attention like that. But when I brought one, it was like, I see it everywhere. So that's like information. If you are only focused on Africa, then you're only going to find the information that talks about Africa. But when you start looking at us having a global culture, now you're going to find information about we were in Europe. You're going to find information about how we were in China, how we were in what was called Africa, how we were in South and Central America, how we were the Eskimos, So it's so much history out there, and this is what Noble Drew Ali exposed us to. And many different authors, like they try to discredit J.A. Rogers because he didn't have a degree. But if you read some of J.A. Rogers' books, man, he gives it up. He give you a lot of resources. And really what we need to do is start our own library, start our own schools, our own communities, just like it's a China. If you will, for lack of a better term, we could call it Little Africa, and we can have other little small communities. We need to work together. And that's what, we're all about, that cohesiveness, and not, like I said, these YouTube influencers creating these soap operas. We're not about separation or trying to force people, because I can't force anybody to do anything, and there's no compulsion in Islam. I can only be my authentic self, and hopefully I can be an example of somebody to for somebody to see me to become their authentic self. And i.e., as you did when I was younger and I would see you, and you probably never knew that I was admiring you from afar, and now here we come full circle, back.
Oh, it's not going to stop here. I think you should have a show on this network.
Well, I mean, I'm more than willing, and I got a couple. I got some sisters who, they talk about health, because that's another. Yeah,
I want you got to address this cat Nick Cannon.
Oh,
the headpiece. Please tell me, is he a Moorish American?
Well, he may have been exposed to some information, because let the truth be told, once the Moorish Science Temple of America fell, a lot of the members went out and started, like if you look at the Bloods and the Crips, right? Blood, from what I understand and my research, stands for brotherly love over oppression and something in disorder. Crip stands for cultural revolution and progress. And when you get deeper into their teachings, we going back to the Vice Lords and a bunch of other gangs, they have this information where they call themselves a nation, and their whole goal, from what I understand, is to reach Islam, which means peace. And what winds up happening is Nick Cannon's father was very heavily influenced and possibly involved with that gang over there. So it's possible that Nick Cannon was exposed to some information, and him wearing, really he goes to a store and buy. We actually wrap. The sisters and some brothers even wrap their turbans, and he may have been exposed and is sharing his portion of information of what he has about Moorish or the Moors, right? So okay. I don't know of him ever proclaiming or becoming a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That information I don't have, but he very may well have been exposed by, like if you will, an offshoot group or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we've gone over, and we could do this all day, but I want to thank you. You have to come back. We welcome this network is your network.
Okay.
Whatever it takes. But thank you, big brother. Any final thoughts?
No, just anybody can come and visit us. We meet on Fridays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. at 1055 Milton Avenue. And then we also, which is our holy day, Friday. Come as you are. We're not looking for membership. We want a fellowship. And also we meet. Our Sunday school is from 12 noon to 2 p.m. at the same place. We feed the homeless. If it's any endeavors that you're into, please feel free to send some snail mail. And then we also have a website, which is nobledrewali.org. You can always contact us through there, and we look forward to, working with many different people in the community and just, let's stop intellectual gang banging on one another, and let's work together and use our intellect to create something and move forward in this new millennium.
One last thing. What is the proper greeting?
Well, we say peace. We say Islam.
Okay. I've
yeah.
always said Islam. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. That's fine. We use Hotep as well. Habaragani. Some people are not familiar, but as long as it's a universal greeting, Shalom Walakim. We pretty much universal. So but it'll make our heart feel good if you said Islam. It would do our heart really good.
Much love, big brother.
Likewise.
Thank you for joining us. Good morning, world.
Good morning.